Hello, and welcome to Day 27 of the Legends of Mathmatica Kickstarter. We're 3 days out from the end of this whole thing, and it's been a little bit of a ride. Had a lot of fun along the way, I'd say. Or at least it's been interesting. So our numbers are $3,401 and 49 backers. Huh. And we have gained another 4? We gained another number. Admittedly, it's been a it's been a rough jaunt. I've been doing a lot of things along the way up to this point, so losing track of the numbers between the days. But I know it's gone up since yesterday. Oh, what have you. As for today's topic of conversation, framing, I guess, is how I'll put it. So, admittedly, I got into it a little bit, talking about the idea that, you're telling a story about your team's triumph, or you're saying that this is a thing that needs to be, that should exist and all that. But it's important to choose a framing, is how I put it. And so when I say framing, I mean how you're presenting this to the audience. So whenever you're doing a thing, you have to decide when you are building it what you want to focus on, because there's always a lot of things going on. Like there might be a story undergirding the whole project as far as how your team came together and what was going on there, but it might be that the project is so complex that you don't have space for that. Remember, for any particular trailer, you want to stay under the 2-minute mark. Like, if you get above the 2-minute mark, you had better be, scintillatingly entertaining, extremely entertaining, to the point where a person forgets that they're watching the thing. Basically, if you get above the 2-minute mark, at that point, you're not doing a trailer, you're doing a short. And you need to approach it like that, where it's an entertaining thing with rises and falls. But if it's under 2 minutes, then you need to be pinpoint and you need to be focused. You need to know what it is that you're trying to convey. So that's where the framing comes in, where you're basically saying, back this game because it's great. So that's one framing of just saying, this is going to be an awesome game. This is going to be an awesome game. And you can take a few steps further, where you say, this is an awesome game, why? This is an awesome game because it's innovative. Well, what does that mean, innovative? That means it changes something, it does something unique, it does something different. So if you're going to say that your game is awesome because it is innovative, then you need to either draw comparisons to the general genre that it is in, or you need to know that your audience is already familiar with that genre, and you're pointing out that, hey, we do X, Y, and Z in this genre, but what if we did Omega? Yes, getting out of the letters and getting into Greek. And ultimately, that's when you're talking innovation, that's kind of where you need to think of it, where if you're saying that your game is innovative, then it needs to change the play paradigm. It needs to be visible, it needs to be something that you can feel. This gets into an aspect of game design theory. Granted, it's game design theory that I proliferated myself, so take it with a grain of salt, but it gets into that concept of the 3 layers of what a game is, where it's got its core mechanics, it's got its framing mechanics, and it's got its refining mechanics. And for an innovative game, it needs to be something that's either on the core layer or the framing layer. Otherwise, it's not going to be reaching in deep enough for it to really, really hit when you say this game is innovative. If it's stuff on the refining layer, then you're basically just saying that you've made the game, you've streamlined the game, you've upscaled the game to be a modern take on what it was. And so this is another form of framing. If your most of your changes are in the refinement layer, where you're just making it simpler, easier, more streamlined, it's just better, it's got all the fixins to make it feel good, even though it's not changing anything about what the game is actually doing, then that's your framing. Then your framing is a modern take. So you've got innovative take, and then you've got modern take. And so these are two different ways to structure the thing, right? And then you've got just a take, where just like this is. Let's say this epitomizes all of the things that are in the genre that you're in. So basically, you've got an innovative take where it's like, we're changing something. We're doing something unique. The modern take where it's like, we're polishing this to a particular sheen, to make it more accessible, in a way. And then you've got the epitomizing take, where it's like, this is in this genre and it is doing everything that this genre does to a T. Doing it all to a T. I don't have any examples on me right now, but this might be something I look into doing a little bit later, is just talking about actually doing this sort of thing with your trailers. But that's the kind of idea when it comes to framing. And so those three framing paradigms, those deal with the actual nature of the game itself, but they don't necessarily talk anything about the team. And so if you're looking at this more as the story of the team and making your user base or audience care about the team, there's a couple of things first. So if you are going in that framing direction, there's a couple of dealies that have to go along with it. Particularly that, firstly, you need to know why they need to care about the team and the game. Now, I almost said the team and not the game, but they need to care about both. Like, regardless, if you're gonna focus on the fact that your team is your team, it still needs to be in service of the game, because ultimately that's what they're backing. They're not backing you. If they're backing you, then you shouldn't be on Kickstarter or something. You should be on Patreon or Subscribestar. One of those longer form things where the whole deal is that they're supporting the company. But there is a modus operandi. There is a line for using the team's story to push the thing forward. Because, again, like I said, everyone likes a good story. And that is something that fulfills. And it also is a way to get people to care about what you're doing. Because ultimately, at least in my opinion, most humans want to see other humans succeed. And if you give a compelling argument for why you should succeed, or at least what you've gone through to get to this point, that is a point in your favor. Now, I will say that whole paradigm is a little bit more difficult to do, because your team needs to actually be a draw in of itself. I mean, if your team isn't full of interesting and unique and cool people, which generally speaking, if you're making a video game, I kind of suspect that you are interesting and cool and unique, because it's hard to do this sort of thing unless you are. So even if you don't think you are, you probably are. But presenting that in a viable manner is tricky. It's tricky. Like, I've seen a couple people actually succeed in this way, and the way that they presented is, one of them, the way that they presented it was, they'd been in the industry for years, and they'd been making things for other people, just small, piddly things, and they knew that they were meant for something more. They knew that they could do more, and so they got a whole bunch of people together and said, "Hey, I want to make something great. Do you want to make something great?" And so they got together, and 2 years later, they've got their whole thing kind of put together. They got a little prototype, and you see, there's kind of a not really a rags to riches story, but certainly a Rocky-esque story. And I love Rocky. Most people like Rocky, but there is kind of there's this progression, and we've gotten to, when you describe it that way, you've basically gotten to the conflict phase of the story, and now you, as an audience member, are able to join in that story at that point. You're able to be a part of the story and bring it to its climax. And so that's an angle there. But it's also that description of that guy in particular also is a statement of competency. And if you remember, in the previous one, I noted that one of the things with these sorts of deals is that you are also demonstrating competency. You are stating, yeah, we know what we're doing. You give us the money, this is going to happen. So when he stated, got 2 years of doing things, it's a statement not only of diligence and a long-running narrative of his life, but also it's a statement of competence in that he's been doing this for 2 years and he's actually finished multiple products. That's not for nothing. That aspect there actually helps. Now, again, I cannot stress enough that ultimately, if you are doing crowdfunding, the focus should be the game. The game, the game, the game. But the team behind the game can help, particularly if it instills a sense of competency, if it instills a sense of competency, and perhaps even a sense of camaraderie. I think to the Pocket Bravery, which they're one of the things I really like about how they've approached their campaign is they've got this whole pound be brave thing, and that whole deal of we're going, regardless of what happens, we're going to keep doing it. Be brave. We're going to make it. We're going to do it. There's something very heartening about that. There's something that draws you in with that, because it's not just saying, oh, hey, it's a game, buy it. It's saying, come with us. Join us. Join me, and we will rule the world together. Well, not exactly like that, but I had to take it. Anyway, the point is, when you're looking at it from a standpoint of promoting a game or promoting a team, promoting a game, you're promoting the game, and the team can be used to push the game forward, particularly as a statement of competency, as a statement of this is actually going to get done, and also as a statement of join the story, become a part of the history that is the game that is coming out. That's that statement with the team thing, and I've kind of lingered on this for a little bit longer than I should have, but just the final bit of that is that's part of what makes the Egavania and all of the other celebrity pushed Kickstarters work, is the fact that the team behind it has demonstrated competency and is well known. That they've made games before. You've seen the kinds of games that they make, and generally speaking, the audience for those games want more games in that ilk. But that's something that can only really work if you've established yourself. And establishing yourself requires actually doing things for the company that builds the game. And that's another thing entirely. Like those are two separate things. Pushing your game and pushing your game company, those are two separate things. Now, the game supports the game company. And the more releases you have under your belt, the stronger your company becomes. And the better the individual releases are, the better the company gets. But that's a whole other aspect of shill-foo, I guess we'll call it. It's called building a brand. I'm certain you've probably heard that phrase before. But all that said, framing. It's important. Knowing exactly what it is that you're trying to say about your game and how you want to say it. That's super important. And so that really factors into how you build your trailer. So whenever you're looking to build your trailer, think about it like this. What am I trying to say? What do I want my audience to do? And what do I want my audience to feel? Anyway, that's all I have to say on framing, and I kind of wandered around a bit because that's what I do. I'm a very tangential speaker. But that's all I got. So, final notes. The numerics for today, $3,401, 49 backers. We got 3 days to go. And admittedly, I was a little bit... I've been consistently surprised each day. I keep expecting the numbers to stay down, but they keep going up. Which I did not... I was not expecting it. But yes, I will be keeping track of all of you who have been backing. And there will be an announcement at the very end of this whole thing. But those of you who have backed us, thank you. Thank you very much. I am very appreciative. But we at Vernacular Games are also extremely appreciative. Anywho, that's all for today. Play the games you want to play, boyos. This is Redcoat, signing out.